do you think has the best raw aim?
It has to be Donk.
With Donk, I think.
Oh, I think it's Donk.
I would have to say Donk.
Have to give the Donk. Donk, for sure.
Able to plant, but is it around?
We all know Donk has amazing aim, but have you ever heard anyone break down why it's so good and why the world's best players struggle so much to challenge him? What do professional aim coaches think of this guy? And why is his grip so strange? So Donk actually misses more than you think, but he makes up for it by having a big toolkit. Let's go over some of those tools, and don't forget to stay until the end for training tips. In this first clip, Donk's first bullet accuracy is slightly off on a couple of kills, but he makes up for it each time with great use of spray control and micro adjustments. Pay attention to the direct line of the flick. High quality flicks are straight lines, and this gives us more time to aim or readjust after landing. The first bullet is missed against a Palace player, but maintaining low tension on the mouse allows Donk to comfortably adjust his spray. These are just a few fundamentals that makes Donk's aim so good. If you practice recoil control, you give yourself way more options in how you can handle fights. Here, Donk chooses to crouch slide and spray even though it's long distance, and this is because it makes him harder to kill whilst he maximizes his chances to hit his opponent. It's a total game changer to combine great recoil control with movement. It's what made this highlight possible, as Donk slides back and forth, making himself unhittable. Donk also sprays to preemptively hit trade fraggers and seamlessly switches to bursts or taps as necessary. It's about knowing the right tool for the job. There's a lot of control in this clip, as huge speedy flicks require high attention and small micro adjustments require less. And Donk shows that he can quickly transition from the speedy flick to a controlled micro to be ready to react to his opponent no matter what. In normal speed, it's harder to appreciate how much mouse control is needed to go from fast big movements to small precise ones like in this sequence. Tension management makes the difference, and Donk's grip is something that helps with this. He's arm dominant, but the difference compared to a classic palm grip like we see here from Elige is how his hand is higher up on the mouse and his fingers are curled. The curled fingers give Donk an option to use his fingers for micro corrections and spray management, something that just isn't as accessible for palm grip players who have their fingers flat on the mouse. Now, anyone can train tension management, but this grip just makes it a little easier. When we get stressed, it's the fingers that tend to tense up the most, which makes controlling more precise movements harder. But as Donk is arm dominant, there's less tension going through his fingers than a claw grip player would have, who would need those fingers for more general control. Another thing Donk has going for him? His dodge timings, as Minigod explains here. Feels bad for Kaisuke.
Since Donk is moving to the right, he's gonna try to adjust, and during this adjustment, you can notice like a specific moment when he like stops moving his cursor because he assumed the guy will stop moving. And in this case, like you can see, he stopped his tracking at this point because he thought, okay, like based on my knowledge and my historical context that I have from the game, I know that players should stop and try to shoot at me in this particular moment. So he started predicting what the guy will do, right? So what happens there is that Donk is doing something that's like not easy to predict. And that's when we can see the error in the aiming.
Here we can see Stiko making the predictive aiming mistake as well. When the enemy model moves in a certain direction, your brain thinks that it will keep moving in that direction and you'll flick to that. But what if they change direction? The answer is you have to aim reactively, just like Donk does in this clip here. Active movement reading, as we see here from Donk, where he is reacting and not predicting the movement of his opponent, is really the key difference. And we'll talk more later in the video about how we can train this, but you've probably played some pistol rounds where you're just spamming and you're constantly flicking behind your opponent. If that's happening, you are predicting them and you're not reacting to them. The casters in this clip make it sound like Donk wasn't in control, but he was in full control. Let's see if you can spot how he does it.
Another 4v2 as well.
It can't happen again. That's what they're saying to themselves right now. Double swing. Oh, a messy spray. Best one. Let it go. Losing control of the hose pipe. He's down 3. Donk.
He creates a tight angle where his opponents must peek into his spray. And then he uses a continuation spray to create fear and deal with the trade fraggers, and he anticipates his opponent's pre-aim and actively dodges when they do peek him to force him to miss. I asked legendary aim coach Cartoon what he thinks about Donk's aim, and he mentioned this. The number one thing that excels about Donk is his micros and their consistency. Almost like there's a green kill box, and inside it, his precision is insanely modular. He's capable of doing adjustments in every angle and distance imaginable. And when doing these micros, he's consistent in his methods. from what I've seen, you'll never see Donk panic micro or panic shoot. It's always well executed micro and then shoot. A quick caveat is that Donk got as good as he is because he is naturally gifted beyond belief. All he did was play Counter-Strike for literally most of his existence, so the following recommendations are not ways that Donk trains, but are ways I think would benefit you if you wanted to isolate some of the skills we saw in the video. For spray control, I really like Refrag right now. It's a great place to start with many different levels of exercises for recoil control, as well as other things too, but really grabbing anything off of the workshop like aimbots should be a good place to start as well. For me, tension management is easiest to get a feel for in aim trainers because it removes all the other distractions. The strength of aim trainers is skill isolation. Think of it like a gym for your aim. When we're talking about direct lines, if you record a volley yourself and slow it down, watch how direct your bigger flicks are. As we look at Nico here, who has extremely high quality mouse control, you can see his flicks are snappy, but as he lands on the target, he is removing tension to enable a controlled micro correction. This is definitely something you can train in game, and that's what Donk is doing here. He's ensuring the first flick is fast and then drops the tension after the crosshair is where it needs to be, ready for a micro correction if an opponent appears. Additionally, he's getting more experience visualizing map geometry that's off screen and then translates that into a precise flick, which is the benefit of getting reps in game. If you notice issues with ensuring flick quality when doing this, you can always isolate it by running around an empty server and practicing your pre-aim as Donk is doing in this clip. If you aren't ready to shoot quickly after a big flick, it's likely that your tension is too high still or your wrist isn't in a neutral position. Try to do big flicks like this almost entirely with arm. One trick Donk likes to use with both bigger and smaller flicks is mouse lifting, which you can experiment with as well. Mouse lifting can be used to keep the mouse centered in the mousepad so you don't avoid running out of mousepad space. This is especially useful if you are repositioning your aim and you don't know precisely where the opponent's going to be next. A good flick is a bunch of different skills all working together, and sometimes it's better to break those apart and work on them in isolation. For those pro aim trainer people, I really like the VDIM flicking playlist for this in KovaaKs. It'll focus on specific skills, whether that's micros, speed, precision, before putting them all together. This lets you really troubleshoot your flicking skill and put attention where it's most needed. Reactive aiming requires us to trust our movement reading and to learn what it feels like to aim reactively, as opposed to predictively. We spend so much time in a predictive state, we sometimes just stay there. If you really don't know what this feels like, try playing an aim trainer and load up the evasive tracking VDIM playlist and try to track the orbs. There are no clues like animation tells to indicate which direction they'll move. At best, we'll get deceleration that indicates a change of direction instead. After a while, you'll learn to rely on aiming reactively. It's a feeling you'll start to get, and this feeling is something that you can start applying in-game. Deathmatch is one good tool for trying to implement any technique corrections or changes, because we're solely focused on our aim, which we can't do when we're playing a match. So, if you have a lot of fundamentals to fix, you'll likely need to spend a decent amount of time in deathmatches, workshop maps, and aim trainers to try and get rid of your old habits over time. I always advise cycling training like with lifting. Have some weeks where you do significantly less aim training, but focus on other things to give yourself a break. Not only does this give you a chance to give your brain a rest, it removes a lot of the monotony from the grind, which helps keep things fun. And additionally, if we become overly focused on our aim, we may try to solve situations in a match with aim when we should be using better utility, decision making, team play, or timing instead. If we want to outplay opponents like Donk, we can't just think like aimers. We have to think and play like Counter-Strike players. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, let me see them in the comments below. And if you want to support my channel for more content like this, feel free to check out my Patreon or become a member here on YouTube. Cheers.